Alright, what's going on? Vampires of Arderon, and welcome to the all Tier 1 boss guide for V Rising 1.0. We're going to be starting with Alpha the White Wolf, who used to be a joke and is now one of the hardest bosses at item level in the game. I highly recommend waiting until you get a copper weapon before starting this, so you're at least on item level parity with the boss. Here we're going to be trying it at 17 with the initial set of bone gear and a bone sword. If you're having a lot of trouble with Alpha the White Wolf, consider using other enemies that are nearby. Wolf will fight bandits, skeletons, other bosses such as Lidia the Chaos Archer, and Goreswine. The main attack to dodge will be this leap attack in which he jumps on top of you and will ravage about 33% of your health bar off. Use your spacebar. It's important to kill the ads as soon as possible. That way if you get pounced on, you won't be taking additional damage from the ads while you're incapacitated. Alright, now that we unlocked Alpha Wolf, we're going to use our wolf form to head over to Keely the Frost Archer. It's a good idea to first create your copper weapon. You can also have a copper weapon for fighting Alpha Wolf. Anyway, we're going to use wolf form to head over to Keely, which can be found here at the Bandit Trapper Camp. The best strategy for fighting Keely is to strafe sideways and save your counter and your spacebar for her frontal Frost Archer shots. Now, her new ability on Brutal is that when she goes invisible, she'll come out of invisibility and do an Ice Nova around her, so you just don't want to be near her when she comes out of invisibility. It's pretty easy to dodge compared to Alpha Wolf. A good strategy for fighting her is going to be to pull animals out of their pens and use the animals to help you kill the nearby bandits. So here comes the Frost frontal AoE Archer shots. I'm going to use my counter and my spacebar to avoid that. Obviously does a huge amount of damage if you're near. So here's our invisibility, we're just going to stay away. Having a copper weapon helps immensely here. It's okay to reset the fight if you have an early bad play, but always try to make sure you grab those health orbs when the bosses get to half. It's going to be your best chance of winning with almost every boss, including the Soul Shard bosses. Alright, enjoy your new Frostbat ability. Or whichever you choose. We'll go with Ice Nova. Alright, next up we have Errol the Stonebreaker. He can be found at the copper mine right in the middle of Farbane Woods, and will give access to increased storage units as well as some starting abilities. You can also use Errol to farm copper for you, as his aftershock attack will destroy the copper nodes, giving you access to early copper. Errol is a fairly easy boss, as most of his attacks are telegraphed, especially these aftershocks. They have a long wind-up time, and they really do not do that much damage. I recommend countering some of his early charge attacks, and even his spin attacks do very light damage. The main attack that you have to look out for is when he hits half health, he will do his sort of brutal difficulty attack mode, which is a 4-piece aftershock. That does a lot of damage, and you're going to need to dodge it. Killing his ads is important, but he only summons miners, and they really don't do very much damage either, so you mostly use them to feed and then just avoid some of his attacks. The feed acts as a kind of iframe for you during a lot of fights, especially the tier 1 Quincey the Bandit King fight. During his charges, you can feed on his minions to dodge the charges. Next up, we've got Rufus the Foreman, another level 23 boss. We should be fine with our copper weapon. Rufus can be found at the bandit logging camp, and the main ability that he has is a sort of continuous submachine gun style attack with his crossbow. You need to fight Rufus somewhere where you have line of sight, like this middle area with logs or over on the side. It does an immense amount of damage, and it's very hard to dodge because he shoots it predictably in the direction you're going, and it slows you. Rufus will also summon ads, and like most bosses, you should work on clearing the ads before you go back to DPSing the boss. So here it is, so we're just going to line of sight this. There it comes again. Alright, next up for us is Grayson the Armourer, which will give us access to whetstones and our first illusion spell. He can be found inside the Bandit Armory, and as we've been doing, I'm just going to keep using abilities from the previous boss. So here we used a blood spell to unlock Blood Rage to increase our attack speed and to heal us for a little bit. The best way to defeat Grayson is to use the invulnerability armor to break all his traps so you have room in the arena to work. Obviously here it's daytime, so I'm going to try to mostly clear the traps around the shadowy spots in the arena. I'm not really sure what Grayson's brutal difficulty power is, or what you have to dodge. It just seems like he might spin or charge a little bit faster than usual, but overall it's a pretty easy fight. Just keep using the armor to break all the traps on the ground and counter when you can, and make sure you're always killing the ads. Alright, next up we've got Goreswine the Ravager. This is going to give you access to the Gravedigger Ring, amongst other pieces of gear, including your first siege defense of a tomb, the ability to raise skeletons and ghouls. So, here we go. The first thing you have to understand about Goreswine is that the amount of area of effects that he summons and corpse explosions across whatever arena you choose to fight him in is absolutely immense. You must clear all monsters from a massive area around Goreswine. Now that you've hopefully killed every single monster within line of sight of the graveyard, you're ready to fight Goreswine. He's really not that hard outside of the fact that there's area of effects everywhere. Try to save your counter in your spacebar for when he uses his auto attack as shown there. It's really just one corrupted skull that sort of weaves back and forth. For this battle, I really like the Wraith Spear because it gives us a little extra movement, and you have to be consistently moving for the sheer amount of corpse explosions and area of effect upon the ground. Just keep countering his auto attack, and then dodging around to stay away from the AoEs. It's really not that bad, even in his under 50% health state. It's more just a little bit of the same. He doesn't really have a particular ultimate, other than the fact that he goes invulnerable for a little bit and puts more corpse explosions on the ground. He's very doable. It's the ads around the graveyard that killed me the first 4 attempts. Here's a look at his ultimate. Just dodge here. There should be plenty of space unless you're fighting him somewhere strange. If you want to cheese him, pull him to Lidia the Chaos Archer or Alpha the White Wolf. Both of those bosses will fight him. The next boss we'll be fighting is Lidia the Chaos Archer. Because she's part of the Chaos faction, she often fights bandits, wolves, and other bosses nearby, and you can use that to your advantage during the fight. I'm going to go ahead and put on Ward of the Damned, which we just unlocked from Goreswine, and I highly recommend keeping Wraith Spear on for the movement. I'm going to showcase the thing that you have to dodge from Lidia. It's sort of her ultimate for brutal difficulty, and it killed me many times. Try to save your spacebar iframe for this, as it comes down from the sky centered on you, and you really don't have time to move out of it without your spacebar. Lidia's frontal chaos attack has 5 volleys to it, and you can block several of them with your Ward of the Damned. You want to block about 3 and then spacebar away, or just start running. Maybe with some distance, you won't get hit if you're not that close. She also does a sky volley similar to her frontal attack with like 5 to 9 attacks to it. You can mostly just dodge sideways for those. The main part of this fight is this sky shot. Save your iframe and get out of that. It does immense damage plus damage over time. For this fight and the rest of the fights for tier 1, I recommend getting a merciless copper weapon, as that would give you a little bit more of an edge and DPS against all the tier 1 bosses. I don't use them, I think, for any of the fights up to Quincey, but it would make them all easier, so take the time to buy it with copper coins from the merchants, and buy the gems that you need as well, or farm them. Alright, next up on our list we've got Clive the Firestarter. Here, Clive mostly throws area of effect bombs that can't be countered, so I've actually taken off our counter, and I'll be using 2 offensive spells instead. One that will summon skeletons for us, and one that'll just do direct damage. Here, I'm gonna iframe the sticky bomb so we don't take damage. Alright, next up on our list is Nibbles the Putrid Rat. This is a really important boss, especially for PvP servers, because it gives you the ability to go into rat form. This makes it really hard for enemies to see you, and it makes it easier to camp and rat bosses to get ganks and kills on players that are attempting the boss. It's also a good tool to run away from a fight when you're low. So, in order to fight Nibbles the Putrid Rat, you have to summon him from a vermin nest, and that's going to require an Unsullied Heart and Grave Dust. I think the best tools for fighting him is going to be the Ward of the Damned, which we previously unlocked, and or Bone Explosion, as he will summon a lot of rats, so you need some sort of area of effect ability. Maybe even we'll swap to the Wraith Spear, and then go Ward of the Damned to summon ads to help us fight. Ward of the Damned, I think, is one of the best PvE counters in the game, as it lasts for several seconds and consistently summons skeletons. And just to make sure we only summon one, I'm going to pull the other heart out. As you can see, periodically Nibbles will get a shield around him that does area of effect damage and sort of stuns you. Kind of kite around and backward away from Nibbles so you don't get caught in his consistent stun attack. Alright, not the hardest boss, as long as you keep dancing around. Alright, so that will be rat form as well, and as you can see, it's very easy to hide with it, especially in open environments. Using the foliage will allow you to get away from combat a lot of the time, or just hide from your enemies. Alright, next up on our list we have Finn the Fisherman, who can be found at the new fishing village inside the Tier 1 Farbane Woods. He will unlock the ability to fish as well as give a frost spell point. He can be found here in the top right of Farbane Woods at the fishing lake. Legend has it that monsters can be found in the depth of the fishing lake. The main things you need to understand about this fight is that Finn consistently spawns adds. The piranhas will do frontal attacks in a continuous line, kind of like the adds from Nibbles the Putrid Rat. Just use Ward of the Dam to block those and summon a lot of skeletons. And then he summons pufferfishes. When they die, they send out icicles in a big area of effect. But you can knock the pufferfish with your left click attack or any attack into Finn. This will stun him. Conversely, if the pufferfish jump into you or are knocked into you, you will be stunned. The major add that Finn summons, which makes the fight extremely tough and brutal difficulty, is a sea serpent. It's sort of RNG when he summons this during the fight, but you really can't kill the sea serpent. You have to essentially run around the entire fight in a circle, dodging the sea serpent, while also fighting Finn and all of his adds. This makes this fight really tough. It took me 5 to 10 tries to beat this. And a lot of them were close, but I was just dying right at the last second. So here he'll summon the sea serpent, and you'll see it for yourself. It does a whole line of icicle attacks, which do damage over time and slow you. So you just have to kite around in a circle and follow Finn the entire fight. Try to deal with the adds as soon as possible, else they stack up. It makes the fight really, really tough. But overall, this is a great new boss and a lot of fun. He is someone that you can skip if you want to. Next up, we have Polora the Feywalker. She used to be useful for getting the teleporter, but they moved it away from her, so now you get an illusion ability as well as your outdoor items such as garden foundations, hedges, and large growing plots, so you can grow herbs. The most important thing that she drops is minor garlic resistance brew, which will allow you to get resistance to garlic, so you can actually pick cotton and move to your tier 2 armor set. This is going to be a very important boss for tier 1, and she must be done at night as there is almost no shade inside the Polora Feywalker arena. Here I recommend using pretty much anything you have access to. I like Chaos Bolt for the direct damage and Blood Rage, so I can increase my attack speed and movement speed to sort of dodge around her. Polora's main abilities are frontal shots like Wisps and the Spectral Wolf. These will heal her because they'll bounce off of you and back to her. She also has an AoE Fear. And she summons ads. The ads are the most important part of this fight. The ads' abilities will damage you and heal Polora, and if she hits the ads with her Wisps or her Spectral Wolf, that will heal herself and the ads. So you need to kill these ads as soon as possible, else they'll just stack and stack and stack, and eventually she'll get all the way back to full health. The only thing I recommend here is to not use anything that will summon ads for yourself. If you summon skeletons, they will almost universally get hit by the ads and the ghost wolves, and that will just bounce back and heal the ads and herself. I did this fight right before this video using Ward of the Damned and Corrupted Souls, and there were usually 2 or 3 skeletons in the arena at any given time. It took me 10 minutes to beat the fight, and I was one shot at the end because she healed back to full twice. So here is a much better version of the fight. Overall, it's not that hard as long as you're dodging sideways and you do a really good job of staying on top of the ads. When you attack the ads, they actually do not attack back. It kind of stuns them with almost any weapon, so just kind of try to stay on top of them. But make sure Polora doesn't hit you with her Spectral Wolf, then we'll heal both ads and then bounce back and heal herself as well. That's pretty much it. Good luck with Polora. She's not that hard as long as you use spacing correctly and sort of dodge around her. I will see you for the next boss. Alright, we're heading toward the end of Tier 1, and now we're going to find Nicholaus the Fallen to get our first Tier 3 ability. This is going to be an ultimate. So Nicholaus is a ad summoning boss, and he does some area of effect damage and some wave-based targeted damage. And so in order to fight him, I think we're going to use the Ward of the Damned to summon skeletons, and then we're going to use the Frost Nova to do some area of effect chill attack and kill some of his ads. Let's see how it goes. So things were going pretty good before I got hit by this auto attack. The auto attack is very similar to the one that Goreswine has, and you just have to avoid it. It does an immense amount of damage. Make sure you have your iframe, your counter, or your Ward of the Damned, or what have you available for it. And then his sort of ultimate is very easy to dodge. He winds up and he just does these corrupted skulls which slowly leak out from around him. These are very easy to block with Ward of the Damned, and you can usually get 2 to 3 of the waves with it. This will summon a lot of skeletons to help you. Definitely an area of effect skill like my Ice Nova and the Whirlwind from the sword do a ton of damage and really help you deal with all the ads in this fight. It's not too bad, and to be honest, I recommend killing this boss a lot sooner than I did in order to get the tier 3 ultimate. Either the Army of the Dead or the Arachnid's ultimate that you can get from killing Nicholaus would tremendously help you with so many of the bosses below Nicholaus, and I feel like this boss is pretty easy. I think you could do it as soon as level 30. He doesn't really have that many directed attacks. You know, just once in a while he'll send forth his auto attack, and it's very, very dodgeable. So let me know if you guys kill Nicholaus sooner, and what weapon you think is best here. Almost a spear would probably be better. There's a lot of times when you just stand still and you can get in there and deal some serious DPS to him. Not bad, as long as we kite backward and we dodge his area of effect attacks. Obviously the Blood Moon helps as well, plus our Warrior Blood. There's a ring and Unsullied Hearts to summon the rat as well. Now it's time to go fight Kodiak and get ready to end Tier 1. Alright, it's time to fight Kodia the Ferocious Bear, which will give us the ability to turn into a bear and therefore break into Quincey the Bandit King's camp and allow us to finish Tier 1. Kodiak can be found in the far east side of Farbane Woods in the Bear Cave, and things will fall from the ceiling the entire fight. I'm going to use Corrupted Skulls in order to summon some ads, as well as our new ultimate, Volatile Arachnid, which we got for killing Nicholaus the Fallen. I'm not going to use a counter here, I'm going to go all damage. Kodia will also summon bear cubs. Which we can use to feed to dodge attacks. This was at level 35 without a cape, with just a tier 4 gear set, or tier 1, excuse me, at level 4, and a Gravedigger ring, as well as just a basic copper sword. We finally come to the end of tier 1. This is going to be Quincey the Bandit King, who will unlock your starting tier 2 armor sets, as well as a host of other abilities, like the Smithy for Iron, and your Chaos Ultimate. So right when we arrive at the Bandit Stronghold, we're going to turn into a bear. And this will allow us to break through the gate. Once you've broken through the gate, all you have to do is go up to Quincey and then beat him. He's really easy. He's probably one of the easiest bosses in the game. Okay. Honestly, Quincey is really hard. I recommend getting a merciless copper weapon and your first cape, and anything else you can do to get stronger. The highest tier of blood you can find. Maybe wait for a blood moon if you're newer to the brutal difficulty setting. I probably died a good 10 to 20 times on this boss, especially from that mace throw. Overall, the main things that you need to know is that you cannot counter his charge attack on brutal difficulty, so just get out of the way. And then maintain some decent spacing on him, but you can actually get in and get some melee hits in once in a while. You can counter his double melee attack and then get behind him when he's barriering or spin. And then try to save your counter or your ward for when he throws that hammer. He throws it all the time. Additionally, he summons a spear ad. This is one of the hardest ads in the game because it does an immense amount of melee damage. Not only that, it also will harpoon you, which will stun you and allow the boss to devastate you. So make sure you kill this ad as soon as possible and try to feed on it to use it as an iframe to get through his charge or away from his hammer. It's kind of good to keep the ads low on health. That way you can just use them as like a second spacebar. Toward the end of the fight, Quincey will start powering up and do a triple charge attack. It makes a noise that's very recognizable. You can actually dodge by just going sideways over and over. You don't actually need to use your iframe for this. You can save it for his hammer throw or his frontal attack or whenever you actually need it. Alright, that is the end of all the tier 1 bosses. Enjoy your chaos ultimates. They're the strongest PvP ultimates in the game. They offer a stun or a direct volley of essentially 4 chaos bolts. Grab your iron weapons and your tier 2 armor, and I will see you at Beatrice the Tailor. For all Act 2 bosses, brutal difficulty. Please comment, like, and love if you enjoyed any part of this video or if it helped you at all, and I'll see ya for the next one.